Hello there.
Hi there, Miss Babcock. Hi, Erik.
What?
Hi, Erik.
He says, "What's up, Mom?"
What's up? So, look, we have so many requests from our viewers for a couple of things. One is to clarify some of the things that Mary slash Jesus said, and the other is they want to ask Prince some questions. What would you like? Where would you like to start, Erik?
He says, "Where would you like to start?"
Oh, I don't care. You're the boss.
He's going like this with his fingers. He's feeling frisky.
All right.
And he says, he's showing me images, so I guess we'll talk about Prince first if you want to go
Okay.
there.
All right. Sounds
So
good. Can you go get him, baby?
he's making fun of you. He says, "Well, I can get him, but I don't have to go anywhere. I don't have to go get him."
Oh, okay. Well, God, I don't know how it works up there yet.
He goes, he's being so ornery. He goes, "Let's just connect to him." And he's being like goofy when he does this. He's not mocking anybody, not being sarcastic, but he says,
Sure. Think,
think about it like that.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm just going to shift a little bit and kind of tune into him because he's definitely stepping forward next to Erik. There's another male coming in next to him. And I see all images that look like Prince. It's funny. I'm just going to say this for what it's worth to everybody who might watch this video. I did a session one time with a client where Michael Jackson came through, and the energy coming from Prince feels very much the same in that he's very calm, he's very gentle, extremely gentle in his approach. Initially expressing gratitude. He says, "I already know what this is going to be about. I already know what this is going to be about." There must be a lot swirling about how he passed,
Yeah.
why he passed.
Right. Right. First of all, thank you for coming forward. I appreciate it. You're
That's
missed.
where he was kind of leaning into that too, thanking you. And that's why he was saying, "I know what this is going to be about." But he says, "Thank you for giving me an opportunity like this to have a voice, maybe to clear up a few things." And he kind of takes a bow and he goes like this. He goes, "So you have the floor," he says.
Okay.
He's being very um, chivalry, like he's using a lot of
Chivalrous.
chivalry, ladies first. Yeah,
Oh, how
yeah.
sweet. That seems
Being
like it
very
would be
kind.
him. I didn't know that much about you, but just that
Me
seems
either.
right. Now, your state of mind when you passed over, what was that like?
Um, he's going like this with his hand, very calm. He gives me a sense of feeling very calm. And he says, again, not quite telling me yet how he passed, but he says he didn't fight it. He didn't fight it, didn't feel like there was a fight or a struggle. It Whatever happened, it felt very natural. It just felt, he says, as far as my mindset and where my heart was, it felt very natural with the timing in it all, he
Was it one
says.
of your exit points that you designed for yourself?
He answered that pretty quickly and said yes.
Well, what did you die from?
He looks down, he looks down at his body and he looks down like this and he says frail. So first of all, making me feel like his health was frail or not superior,
Okay.
not your normal sense of self. Somehow his health was compromised, he says. But I also feel like this is because, okay, he's speaking with like image, with energy. So I see his body as being unwell. And then I feel like because his body's at a compromised state, somehow there must have been medication that he was taking. He said, yep. Or medication that he was on that affected his compromised body. So just for example, it's almost like, somebody had a weak heart, took some sort of medication, and it just
Knocked
didn't.
them, yeah, it snuffed them out. Snuffed them out. So it was a medication given to a frail body that caused your demise.
He says yes, and he's very soft in his yes.
Are there any particular medication, or were there several?
He makes me feel like there were several, but I don't feel like it was abuse. I asked him, I said, was this,
Ah,
any kind of abuse in medication? And I don't feel like it was abuse, but he says it like this. He says, perhaps they shouldn't have been used together. But
hmm.
I feel like they were like in his name, like prescriptions for him or
Okay.
something. I don't feel
All
like
right.
it's abuse.
Well, why are all these music innovators, somebody wants to know, why are so many dying now? I don't know that they are, but
He's so sweet. He tipped his chin up and smiled real big. Um, no matter who you are, when you come to Earth and then when you come back home, he says, once you make your mark, it's not like it's planned. He says that we all leave in waves, but he says once you make your mark and accomplish what you need to, you come back home. You transition back home. Um, he's starting to talk about that's why some people design different or even later exit points. And this is a little bit new to me to think about and try to wrap my head around. But he says he makes me feel like, for example, like here's an exit point, in my 50s, but I still have some work to get done. So that exit point's there if I've accomplished what I want to, with free will thrown in there. But if I haven't, then here's another exit point a
right.
little bit later that I've designed. And for him, he says that he says I felt like I was a voice for many based on my actions, and he felt like he was a voice for many that couldn't speak or were introverted in who they were and afraid to express themselves. So I knew I made an impact. I knew I left an imprint. That's part of that has some to do, not all to do, but some to do with the timing in my transition, he says.
Okay. Well, now you were a devout Jehovah's Witness, right? Why, first of all, well, why were you?
Mm. He said yes, and then he gave two words to describe why. Also, this is so hard. He's giving two words to describe why, but he's giving energy that says something different. So I'll try to break it down for you. I just knocked my water over.
Uh-oh.
Okay, so he said safety and comfort. It felt safe, and it's where I was comfortable with beliefs. But now making me feel like he says he understands the framework that kept him within. Doesn't mean it's wrong to have certain
No,
religious ties or beliefs,
sure.
but he's kind of laughing. He says it doesn't matter who you worship or what avenue you worship through. We're all truly worshiping the same thing,
Yeah.
just different light.
Was it you were
So
just raised like that, so it was just comfortable for you? Because that's what you knew? Is it like that?
conditioning, yeah, he says conditioning,
Okay.
um, comfort conditioning. He keeps repeating that. His communication style is much different than Erik. He gives real short, fragmented. I mean, he's a. I guess I would describe him as a man of little words, but just very direct and to the point.
Okay.
Like not somebody who really speaks a lot, but when he does, he's very direct and to the point.
Not
So
chatty Cathy like Erik, huh?
exactly.
All right, well, let's move along because I got so many questions. I want to go through them relatively quickly. Now, have your beliefs changed since you? Well, first of all, did you refuse treatment because of your religious beliefs?
He says many times yes. He says just in his lifestyle, there's many ways that he chose to live that he says maybe not so much tied to my religious beliefs, but just in who I was and what made me happy, what made me comfortable.
Okay.
Um, and oftentimes he goes, that can get you picked on because you're not like, or you choose to just not be like all the rest. And sometimes you get picked on for that.
So, did your beliefs change after you passed? Did you see Jehovah's Witness, that religion, differently?
He says, widely. His beliefs have widely changed. He says, think about it like this. He says, when you go through life, you may have a set of beliefs and you're really attached to them or tied to them. And then when you come here, you see all the rest, all the other perspectives that you didn't accept or didn't align with in your physical life. So here, it's more of a sense of accepting always. He says you really see it as it's all the same thing. Um, so for example, he's using a painting for an example. You can have two different artists paint the very same picture with different color paints. So over here, this artist chose these paints and that's how they express themselves. And over here, same picture, different paint. So it's just the same, he says.
But
But
it's
when you come
still
here,
a painting of a bowl of fruit.
yeah, exactly. And it's still the same thing. So
Okay.
this is no exception to religion, he says. It's all the same thing. And then when you come here, you sort of break free from whatever you were tied to and
But
understand that it's really all one.
did you have any? Not, I won't say judgment, but did you look back on Jehovah's Witness and see some of the any negative aspects to it, if there are?
Yeah, he was talking about that maybe not seeing it as a negative thing, but just seeing how it kept him almost like with tunnel vision. And
Okay.
again, how that affects so many. He says um, this was really eye awakening. This was really moving for him, just to see. He kind of smiled and said, real matter of factly, he says, just to realize that it's really all the same thing,
Well, it's
and
interesting.
it's
Yeah. Now, describe your transition. What happened? Did you enter a white room? Did you go through a white tunnel? Anything like that?
I heard him say that he was, he said, I was greeted by my grandparents. Um, he says that it was very quiet. He says, I'm a quiet person. And he kind of laughs. He says, imagine that based on the lifestyle that he lived. But he says, I'm a quiet person. So his transition was very quiet. It was extremely subtle. And he says it felt like traveling through um, a tunnel, but I understood.
Uh oh, Bella's barking at something.
Hi,
Go on,
baby.
go get it.
Um, he says it's like constant movement through. It looks like a tunnel. It feels like different shades of white, if that's possible.
Wow.
Um, but he says, go ahead and repeat that for everybody because that sounds so ignorant, but it's so true. But it's not shades, it's vibrations.
Oh, okay.
Um, but he says he felt pulled. It felt like a pulling sensation, and it looked like a tunnel, but it was very quiet. There were not many there because he says again, I get overwhelmed easily. I like my space.
Right.
Um, and then what he says, and then it happens that there's a sense of all knowing. There's a sense of comfort
Mm.
that overwhelms you and envelops you and sort of welcomes you into, and he calls it the homeland. And he's giving me this big picture of it's almost like stepping into, and like traveling is the quiet phase, traveling. And then all of a sudden I see um, all kinds of people, all kinds of plants, but it's not a world like ours. So it's like he was then given, like once he understood, all is one, all is accepted, I'm safe, then is when he saw this image of everything that defines homeland, he says. But he
Homeland.
says he never questioned. He says, I never questioned what was happening. It's like he knew. Um, he was never scared, and he was never like, what the heck just happened?
Yeah. Okay.
That
Well,
never carried with him.
all right, what was your life review like?
Um, he actually says that he's um,
Just briefly, because I
still,
got so many questions.
okay, still learning from a multitude of perspectives. Um, he says he kind of looks back like he's looking at his life review, and he says, more profound, more deep, the depth in which I connected to people I couldn't have imagined. He says, I didn't realize the impact. You don't truly realize the impact you make until you feel it from an outside perspective.
From their
Um,
perspective, yeah.
and he's just giving the word grateful, like almost kind of speechless. Um, he says, no, don't get me wrong. There's a lot too that I don't want to look at. I don't want to reflect on, but you learn from it, you grow, and you understand the purpose with it. He goes, that's the good part, because when you're there in your physical life, you don't always understand. You just have to suck it up.
That's true. What was your spiritual mission this lifetime? Like, what were you here to learn and teach?
He says, to move people he says, I guess I would just call myself an example, to move people to be a voice, to express themselves however they feel comfortable. Be true to who you are, no matter who that is, no matter what that means. Um,
You sound like Erik
so
saying the same thing. Be your true, authentic self.
he says it's the easiest way to be,
Yeah.
because if you try to hide who you are and try to be something you're not, you'll live a life of misery, and that defeats the whole purpose of being in life, of living. So he says his spiritual mission was to teach people to help pull you out of your comfort zone, because if you stay there, you don't grow, you don't learn, you don't know who you are. Whoa, that was that was a strong statement with like the energy that he's giving. If you stay in your own comfort zone, you don't truly know who you are.
Well, were you here to learn anything?
He's so sincere, though. Um, just that. I said, were you here to learn anything? What were you trying to learn? He said, just that.
Oh, the
How
same
to
thing. Oh,
how to trust myself in moving outside of your comfort zone. And in such a big way, when if so many eyes are on you at once, imagine the ridicule you could face, that you do face. That's uncomfortable. But you're never going to learn about yourself if you don't pull yourself out of that comfort zone.
do you think you accomplished all that?
He says, and he's so kind. He just keeps saying, make sure there's no ego, make sure there's no ego. Like he wants his messages to be conveyed with authenticity and sincerity.
Yeah.
So he says, I think so. He says, I hope people learn from me just to truly express who you are. Don't hold back. It doesn't matter. Meaning others' judgment of you doesn't matter.
Right. Exactly. Now, one person wants to ask, and this is off topic, did the New World Order or the Illuminati kill you? You know, when somebody big like you dies, there's all sorts of conspiracy theories that start bubbling up.
He says, that's true. Conspiracy theories swarm so much more if you have the public eye on you. But He's pointing up. This is divine order, he says. That's all. That's all he
So
says.
no. All right.
He
What
keeps
would
going like this. Yeah, it's a no.
okay. When you were alive, were your spiritual beliefs, some of them similar to what Erik teaches us now? Somebody felt like they were. Maybe based on your lyrics, I'm not sure.
He says a lot of what Erik teaches now coincides with who I was, with how I tried to live my life.
Okay.
Um, he says being in the public eye and being famous can easily pull you away from your own beliefs and even knowing who you are. But a lot, he says, the thing that I like about Erik is the truth, the no bullshit. That's how I wanted to live my life. I wanted to, I don't bullshit people. This is who I am. You can take it or leave it,
Hmm.
he says. So there's a lot that coincides with between the two of them.
Okay, now you said an angel cured you from of epilepsy. Can you talk about that? That's really an interesting story.
Um, he says yes, and he's referring to this angelic being as being very much like a guardian angel, but also very motherly, very motherly towards him. Um, he says this is how he's explaining it. He says this goes back to the foundation of truth, being in truth, believing it, and accepting it. So if you can find the core of what truth is, so for him in that moment, believing that you can be healed, and releasing at that same time, anything can happen, anything's possible. It's a miracle. Miracles happen, but people are too cynical, they're too sour these days to believe in miracles, he says. Um, but it was the belief in truth, he says it for him, but he says it very matter of fact, like with his energy, it's just very matter of fact. And Erik does that all the time, and I get so frustrated because I'm like, we're humans. This stuff is not matter of
I
fact to us.
know.
But he says, no matter what it is, and just a quick example, I, a couple weeks ago, I hurt my back pretty bad and really tried to dig deep into the core of what was going on with that. And then I literally found some strange way energetically to just release the attachment to it and allow healing or accept healing. And I literally felt it leave my body, and it was just laying there in bed, and I just was laying there with my daughter and just crying because I'm just the pain went away. It just
Oh,
stopped. And he's saying it's the same thing. It's just believing it without a
so
shadow
you
of a doubt
so
that
you believe that this angel could heal you, so you're able to let go of the epilepsy. Is that what you're saying?
exactly.
Okay,
He says you put it. He says you put it perfect. If you believe and you're able to let go, that's when miracles happen
that's awesome.
every
Remember,
day.
I'll have to remember that. That can come in handy. What was your favorite instrument to play? Just real quickly.
Um, he says probably the guitar.
Okay.
Um, there's also it looks like a saxophone, I think.
Okay.
But the expression through the chords, um, and I hear a guitar playing. It sounds like an electric guitar, though.
You're
Um,
gonna have to jam with Erik. Give him
I
some
know that's
lessons.
exactly what's happening right now.
Oh
Like,
boy. All right. Now there
it's
was
too
also some
funny.
questions about whether you had a will. That's a question from a blog member too. All of them are.
He makes me feel like he did, but or this is what he shows me. I see the starts of a will, but it's not complete. It's not finished.
Oh, okay.
So,
Oh, anything
like I
you?
intended to, or he didn't have like his estate or his belongings like completely covered. I don't think it was complete.
Oh boy. Well, you just created a mess, boy. Gosh. Oh, but it's only money. Well, what inspired Purple Rain, by the way?
He says, Okay, he's using image to talk, but he's pretty good at it. I'm quite surprised. But
Good.
he says, purple rain connecting to and understanding something outside of yourself. It's feeling, he called you by your first name. He said, it's feeling, Elisa, like
Oh.
there is something bigger and more powerful than you.
Hmm.
And knowing that, and this represents my sense of wonder, he says. Um, so this was to try to shine light on things that are bigger than us. That's a strange description, but and he keeps like sending his energy outward, like pulling his energy out. So it's like trying to find that connection to things that we may not understand or things that are different than us. I wanted this to create a sense of wonder.
Okay.
Um, wanted this to move people
All
the way that
right.
I felt moved sometimes.
All right. What did you learn about chemtrails?
He says, "Do you mean here?"
I don't know. It's just from a blog member. Whatever you think would be the most interesting answer. Yeah, I guess
Okay.
here. Just really briefly, because I'm not going to be able to get to all the questions.
He says, when I asked him, I said, "Well, what did you learn about chemtrails?" He says, I feel whatever this is, there's a lot of conspiracy around it, and it's like it's not all it's cracked up to be. He's trying to debunk like all the conspiracies about just anything surrounding. He said fabricated.
Well, I
He
do.
said the he
So I do have a post somewhere in the blog about chemtrails, the information that Eric gave. Did he give the right information? Just getting a second opinion, Eric. So people can go to the blog and who are interested in chemtrails and can
um
look at that. Do you
he
agree?
he says yeah.
Okay. All right. Let's see. What happened to your name? The artist formerly known as Prince. Were you trying to send? Oh, and okay, that's a separate question. They said you were. Well, I know what that was like, right? I mean, that was about you getting pissed off at the label company, right?
This was about, he does give me like this almost aggressive energy and then going like this. So this is my symbol for defining who I am, like defining who I am. So whatever happened with his name, or it was about him staying true to himself and defining himself. And but he's giving such sincerity. I wanted people to understand me. I wanted people to know me, and I wasn't going to change.
Okay. Was the label company trying to do something you didn't want to have done with your name, Prince?
Oh, this might get me in some hot water. They always do, he said.
Oh yeah.
When I
Well,
said they try to get you to do things that, that you don't like, that don't speak true to who you are, that you
but
don't
that's
want to
what
do.
you're
He
all
said,
about. Yeah. So that must have been difficult. Now, why did you have this impromptu party right before your death, and you said to people, "Don't waste your prayers"?
he says, well, it's a belief. Um, Sometimes he says people take that very literally, but it's not like don't waste your prayers, meaning your prayers don't get answered, your prayers don't get heard. It There's energy there, there's creation there, so keep praying. But what he means is like live it, like be it. So because what again he's speaking with image, what he's doing is showing someone praying, like let's say for something they want, and then he's pulling their energy into that. So be it. So don't just pray for it, like be it, he says.
Okay.
Um, and I asked him, I said, well, why the party? What was that about? And he just said he liked celebration. He liked to bring people together in celebration. But it wasn't about him. He says it wasn't about me. He just liked to see people come
Okay.
together in celebration. Um,
All
he's
right.
so funny. When we're talking, he's like looking down and like fixing his clothes and fixing himself. So
Oh,
I don't. if that's who he was in his personality, but he's very fidgety.
Oh, really? Interesting. Do you have any regrets? Then I have three
Uh,
other questions.
he says no. If I could just keep encourage people to keep a loud voice in staying true to who they are,
Okay.
that's my mission.
Okay. Tell us about a past, another life that you had that most influenced your one as Prince.
He gives me the word orphan, um, but he looks like an abandoned child, like homeless, no family, no anybody, and wanting to have a voice. He says, having a voice, not just in who you are, but there's validation in just knowing somebody heard you. Um, he felt very unvalidated in his being, in who I
Mm.
was, because I didn't have anybody to listen to me. Not that I needed that in ego, but I needed that to sort of just validate my existence. Um, he says that he was born to a poor family that couldn't afford to keep him, so he was abandoned.
Mm.
Um, it looks very primitive. His clothing is very primitive, but the way that that affects this life, this most recent incarnation as Prince, um, is is kind of taking that to the complete opposite, being able to have a voice and being heard, and the way that people responded to me, um, by record selling and whatever, validated him, but also what he was trying to say to people. So it's like this extra validation in his existence,
Okay.
in the essence of who he was.
All right. Do you have any final message or a piece of advice for us or humanity as a whole?
Very subtle with his energy in this message, and he kissed a peace sign and did this and said, "Live your truth.
Oh,
Live
live
who
your
you
truth.
are."
Those are those words, three words are so important. Thank you for that. Eric, do you want to ask him any questions?
He is. He looked at him and said, "If you could directly change humanity like that, how would you do it, and what would you do?" Um,
Hmm.
so Prince says, "I would give them vision." Ooh, could you imagine? He says, "I would give them vision to see um, what the hurt that they what what it looks like when they hurt someone, what it looks like when they cause hurt. Energetically, I would give them that vision, because then we'd all be kind.
Yeah.
We wouldn't cause that hurt. So if I could just at the snap of my fingers change something, it would be that," he says.
Well, you just work on that
And then he
until we
just
talk
kind of
again.
pulls back and he says, "Be kind to one
Yeah.
another."
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming
Yeah,
here, and
seriously, could you imagine?
that's awesome. So many people have wanted to hear from you. They're going to be very excited about this.
He says, "Thank you for the love, the continued outpouring of love for who I am and accepting who I am." He just keeps saying, "Thank you, Elisa." And he keeps
Oh,
bowing.
thank you. You're so welcome. And thank you, Eric, for bringing him in. And thank you for your input. Kim, thank you. And we will return in just a
Absolutely.
moment for another
All
session.
right. Bye bye.
Go get you some water.